Hello, welcome to Visionarics, our podcast, where you can have real and simple conversations with us about various tools and technologies. I'm Backstage and
I'm Crossplane. In this podcast, we dive into exciting discussions about simple and deep technical topics in the world of DevOps and cloud. You can find the full transcript of this episode on our website, visionarics.tech, to follow along with us. Stay tuned and enjoy the adventures in the world of technology.
Hi, you must be the famous Crossplane who writes YAML like it's easy as drinking water, right?
Yes, that's me, and you must be Backstage, the one trying to make a nice portal from all the microservice mess.
Exactly. I'm so happy to finally meet you. I heard you're using your custom resource definitions to wrap AWS and GCP in Kubernetes.
Yes, I'm trying to make all cloud providers speak YAML, and you, with your service catalog, are helping developers find their way.
You're too kind. We just try to make a place where developers don't need to search all of Stack Overflow just to find one API document.
And I'm trying to help DevOps teams so they don't need to fight with AWS console for 3 hours just to make one simple RDS instance. It's funny how we're solving two sides of the same problem.
I really agree. I think if we work together, we can make a system where both developers and SREs are happy. By the way, what do you think about the infrastructure as code theme at the conference?
It's great. I like seeing all the new tools that want to make YAML writing easier, but I still think good YAML is better than 100 UIs.
Yes, but you must watch out for those deadly indents. Did you hear about that DevOps engineer who put one extra space in YAML? They say they're still looking for that service.
Exactly. Maybe we can start a project together one day. Like developers could use your portal to get to my infrastructure without even knowing what YAML is.
That would be a DevOps revolution. We must work on this. Well, Ms. YAML writer, now that we're friends, tell me more about how you manage all these cloud providers.
Look, I'm like a translator between Kubernetes and cloud providers. When a developer says, I want an RDS, I translate that to AWS language with some YAML magic.
So you're like Google Translate for infrastructure.
Exactly. Instead of translating from Persian to English, I translate YAML into AWS and GCP API calls. I make a custom resource that says, I want a PostgreSQL with these settings, and then I talk to that cloud provider's APIs.
That's cool. In my world, I'm trying to bring order to this microservice chaos. You know, when we had monoliths, everything was so simple.
Yes, now teams have to go through so much trouble just to find one service's API docs.
Exactly. That's why I made a catalog where everything is in order. No more searching through all of Confluence just to find some Swagger docs.
You know what's interesting? We're solving two ends of one puzzle. I make infrastructure simple, you make the user layer simple.
And if we work together, wow. Think about it. A developer could use my portal to make a whole Kubernetes cluster with all its infrastructure without even knowing what YAML is.
And I do all the messy YAML writing and API calls behind the scenes, like magic but with correct indents.
And all this with a nice user interface, like there's not a YAML war happening behind it.
Just promise me one thing, if a developer ever wants to see my YAMLs.
Don't worry, we'll hide the YAML files behind an advanced settings button. You know, the place nobody ever goes. You know what? Something always bothers me. Why do developers need to jump between so many tools like special forces for every little thing?
Yes, it's like around the world in 80 tools. They go to AWS console, then GitHub, then Jenkins, and take a spin in Grafana.
And that's if they're lucky enough to find the docs in Confluence. If they haven't got lost in SharePoint and Wiki first.
I have the same problem. Just think about teams working with 3 cloud providers. They dance with AWS in the morning, argue with GCP at noon, and wrestle with Azure at night.
And each one has a different UI, different API, different settings. It's like learning 3 foreign languages at once.
Exactly. That's why I try to turn them all into one language, with a YAML accent. Better than waking up to a new language every morning.
Know what could happen if we work together? I could make one portal that brings all these tools together.
And I could make all these cloud providers work together like an orchestra. The developer just needs to say what they want.
Exactly. They won't need to go through so much trouble to set up one environment. They just need to ask through my portal.
And I know exactly what YAMLs to write and how to talk to each cloud provider. I promise to write such clean YAML that if a curious developer wants to see what's happening, they won't run away in fear.
Think about it. We'll put a button in the portal called Just Make It Work. There's lots of YAML and API calls behind it, but developers only see the result.
Yes, and we'll add another button called Show Me the YAML for those DevOps folks who want to see what's happening behind the scenes, with a warning saying, looking at these YAMLs may cause headaches.
Great. Now that our theories match, let's look at this more practically. How about we make a proof of concept?
I agree. I have an idea. Let's start with a simple scenario, like a developer wants to set up a new service with a PostgreSQL database.
Oh, that's good. I can make a template for it in the portal. A simple form that just asks for the service name and database details.
And behind the scenes, I'll make a custom resource that says, Hey AWS, build an RDS instance with these specs in sweet YAML language.
And the best part is that the developer just clicks create and the rest is magic.
Though it's magic with lots of YAML and API calls behind it. By the way, what about authentication?
Oh, don't worry. I have an auth system that works with OIDC. We can use that and connect it to Kubernetes RBAC.
Good. So a junior developer can't suddenly decide to delete a production cluster.
Well, Mr. YAML Whisperer, let's make a real example. Let's say a team wants to set up a Python service with a PostgreSQL database, the classic hello world with extra steps scenario.
Oh, classic use case. So I need to write lots of YAML, behind the scenes of course, so our dear developers don't see it and get scared.
Exactly. Look what I have up my sleeve, a nice template that just asks, what's your service name? Which Python version do you want? How much storage does your database need? That's all.
And I work behind the scenes like an action movie. A CRD for PostgreSQL, a deployment for the Python app, a service for networking, and lots of YAML that thankfully only I see.
Oh, so you work in dark mode too, where all the YAMLs are hidden.
Yes, I can make an RDS instance in AWS like you're shopping in the App Store. Just click Buy Now.
And I automatically make a Git repo, set up the CI/CD pipeline, all without the developer having to type kubectl even once.
Of course, I'll make a secret for database credentials, because security first. We don't want to find passwords in Slack.
Oh yes, and we show all this in a nice dashboard. No more opening 7 browser tabs just to check project status.
And if something fails, I quickly update the status. Not like the old days when you had to search through AWS logs for some strange error.
You know what's interesting? When a developer wants to rebuild their development environment,
Just click one button. No need to read that old README that was last updated 2 years ago.
exactly, and everything is version controlled. No more days of who deployed what where.
Oh, I also thought about PR reviews. When someone wants to change the infrastructure,
Oh, plan apply style? Like Terraform but without having to learn HCL?
yes, and we'll show all changes in your UI with nice green and red colors so everyone understands what's happening.
You know Crossplane, it's like we're playing Doctor Strange for DevOps, trying to turn millions of complex timelines into one simple path.
Exactly, but instead of the time stone, we work with the YAML stone, though sometimes YAML can be more cruel than Thanos.
You're right, let's make a declarative approach for simplification. Something that says, I want a service that works, without needing a PhD in YAMLology.
And we'll do all the magic behind the scenes, like a good magician who never tells how much they practiced. But instead of pulling out doves, we're pulling out microservices from our hat.
Exactly. I'll make a UI so simple that even a product manager can use it, without knowing there's a YAML war happening behind it.
I just hope when a developer goes to advanced settings, they don't have a heart attack from seeing all that YAML. Maybe we should add a warning. Danger, YAML, overdose possible.
So, our main plan is 1. Show everything simply. 2. Hide complexity behind a nice UI. 3. Wherever there's YAML, put a magic happens here button.
Yes, and let's add a GitOps component to track all changes. We don't want someone asking where did this service come from, and nobody knows.
And all this with proper authentication. We don't want a junior developer accidentally deleting all of production on their first day.
Yes, that famous remove-rf/asterisk in production was enough. It's time for a proper "are you really sure" dialogue.
You know what's interesting? While we're making everything simple, we're using the best practices behind the scenes, like a pro chef who serves you tasty food without showing you the messy kitchen.
Exactly. Infrastructure as code, GitOps, automated deployments, they're all there, just hidden behind a nice smile.
By the way, Crossplane, something that always worries CTOs is vendor lock-in. They don't want to wake up one day stuck with one cloud provider.
Oh, good point. That's exactly why I focused on composite resources. It's like the adapter pattern in programming. We make an abstraction layer that's provider agnostic.
So teams can easily move between cloud providers.
Exactly. When a team says, I want a PostgreSQL, I make an interface that can run on AWS RDS today, GCP Cloud SQL tomorrow, and even a self-hosted PostgreSQL on Kubernetes.
So you're like a universal translator. Maybe we could add a feature to show which provider each service is running on.
We could even make a migration wizard, something that says, want to move your service from AWS to GCP? Just click here.
Just imagine, one click and all infrastructure moves from one cloud provider to another. Though you're writing YAML and sweating behind the scenes.
Yes, but the developer only sees the result. Like when you click alternate route in Google Maps, you don't know what algorithms are running behind the scenes.
This way, teams can decide based on cost, performance, or any other factor, without worrying about vendor lock-in.
Exactly. And they can relax knowing if AWS raises prices or GCP offers better service, they can move without changing their whole architecture.
We should really show this in our KubeCon demo. A live migration from AWS to GCP in front of everyone.
Just hope the internet doesn't go down during the demo, or we'll have to explain that this is also a type of cloud provider independence.
Thank you for listening to Visionarics. You can find more technical and practical discussions on our website. Visionarics.tech.
Thank you for listening to Visionarics. You can find more technical and practical discussions on our website, visionarics.tech.
Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.